The sound of the drums lets us know it's time for the Griot Story Circle. Welcome to the circle. It's time to think about the islands. Have you been to the islands? Well, you can right here in Laurel. You can go to restaurants that serve food from the Bahamas, Jamaica, Barbados. You know the names? Well, if you ate food from those islands, you would have a coconut kind of day. Yes, coconuts is one of the foods that you'll find on the palm trees in the islands. And this book, Coconut Kind of Day, Island Poems by Lynn Joseph, talks about some of the island foods. And of course, one of the foods is figs and fish that you might find in the island. And this is a poem about Mama. And it says, Mama, gone to market with the figs upon her head. She wearing her soft blue dress for selling with the fish round the edge. Her hair be plaited neatly in two long straps of black. She walking tall in sandals with the bamboo beads intact. Mama looked like Christmas with red sorrel behind her ears. She balanced her wicker basket like the Star of Bethlehem. And there you have Mama in this book this poetry book about the island of Trinidad. Now, sometimes you want to eat dessert first, they say, because life is short. Eat dessert first. And in Trinidad, you might eat palate. And this is the palate man. And palate is a kind of ice cream. Soursop, coconut, mango, lime. Neville, Arjun, Jasmine, and I run down the street to the palate man. Count out our change as we get in line, wait our turn, and then decide. Coconut, soursop, mango, or lime. What kind of ice cream would you choose? Those are some hard choices. Mango is a sweet fruit, and lime is tangy, and soursop, it's sweet. And you'll want to try a lot of different foods. Right here in Laurel, you can go and try some of those fruits. Do you remember the islands? Jamaica, Barbados, Haiti, Cuba, Puerto Rico. You try out some of the foods from those places. Now, you also will hear about some of the foods from those places in stories. And Ashley Bryan has written a story called The Dancing Granny. And this story tells you about some of the foods that you'll want to enjoy from the islands. Now, this story has Anansi, the Spider-Man, in it. Now, Anansi is sometimes in West Africa, but also in the islands. And in the island of Antigua, there was an old woman who lived on the edge of town. And this old woman loved to dance. Whatever she was doing, it ended up in a dance. And she was called Griot. Now, Griot would go in her garden and she would take her hoe and she would chop and chop, and the rhythm of the chopping and the sound of the birds and the breeze blowing through, and soon she was swaying and dancing as she worked in her garden. Now that day, Anansi, the Spider-Man, come down the road, and he hear her singing, and he stop, and he wonder, is this a chance for him to get something good to eat? Anansi, he no like work. Anansi, he no like sweat. Anansi like to find the easy way to make his living. And so Anansi climb up the tree. He look down and he see Granio dancing, but he also see tall corn, yellow and ready to eat. Oh, Anansi just had to think, and he had an idea. Anansi began to make a rhythm. And Anansi began to sing. Anansi here, Granio go, dance to the east, dance to the west, dance till you need a rest. And Granio heard that singing and that rhythm, and soon she began to dance this way and that way, and all the way down the road, Granio danced. And when she was out of sight, Anansi came down out of the tree and gathered up enough corn for his whole family to eat. And Anansi took the corn home, and his wife and mother cooked the corn, and they had delicious corn for many days. And Granio, she could dance without needing a rest for a long time, so she was miles away from home. And when she come back, she saw corn missing from her garden. And she thought about it. And she said, who was that voice? And she knew that voice was Anansi, that lazy Spider-Man. Granio thought, fool me once, but that's okay. I still got a nice garden. And on another day, Granio was in the garden, pulling up the weeds and clearing out the weeds from around the beans and the peas. And as she pulled, she got into a rhythm, and before you know it, she was dancing. Oh, she loved to dance as she worked. And down the road came Anansi. And Anansi heard her singing and climbed up the tree and saw the peas and beans and thought, ha ha, it's time for peas and rice. And Anansi began a beat. And Anansi began to sing. Anansi here, Granio go, dance to the north, dance to the south, dance till you can come on out. Oh, Granny loved that beat. And Granio began to dance this way, and down the road she danced, twirling and swirling. And Anansi came down from the tree and began to gather up peas and beans, enough for his whole family, and went home and had his wife and mother cook peas and rice for many days. But Granio, she went even further down the road before she stopped dancing and realized Anansi had done it again. Granny O knew it was going to take some doing to take care of Anansi, and so she had an idea. One day, as Granny O was in her garden, chop, chop, chopping and sprinkling the seeds and watering the ground, but she wasn't dancing, she was listening. Listening for the crackling of feet on the road or the turning of leaves to the trees, and she heard it. And she turned around and saw Anansi, and she grabbed him before he could get up the tree. Anansi, Spider-Man, she said, you love to see me dance? Now you're going to love to dance with me. And Granny O held Anansi as tight as she could, and she began to dance. This away and that away, Nancy and Granny O danced and swirled down the road. And you know Granny O could dance for a long time. And Anansi was getting tired, but Granny O held him even tighter. And when she was finally tired and ready to stop, they were miles away. Nancy said, Granny O, you want to dance? You come again, you dance with me even farther. And from that day to this very day, Anansi never go to Granny O's house because Anansi, he no like to be tired, he no like to sweat, and he no like to dance for a long time with the dancing Granny O. Now you can read this version of The Dancing Granny by Ashley Bryan. Now, Ashley Bryan is a very interesting person because he also lives on an island. Now, we talked about the Caribbean island, the islands in the Caribbean, but Ashley Bryan lives on an island off of the coast of Maine. And I hope you know that Maine is one of our states that's all the way to the north of the United States on the coast. And Ashley Bryan's has a Caribbean connection, though. His parents were from the island of Antigua. And Ashley Bryan has written about his life in this book called Words to My Life Song. And in it, he shares his island off the coast of Maine, the island where he lives. And he talks about the morning sun, jewels, the dewdrops on the grass. Walk with me on this Maine island where I now live, and I tell my story. Down the road is a sandy beach filled with boathouses, and I have a sketch pad in my hand. Ashley Bryan loves to paint and to draw and to make things ever since he was a little boy growing up in New York City. And now that he is an older man, he lives on this island, and he talks about the boats coming in with the lobster man bringing their lobster traps. Now, if you want to find lobsters in Laurel, you can. Right in your grocery stores, you can sometimes even see live lobsters. And that's what Ashley Bryan does when he goes walking through the island in Maine. He sees the lobster men catching lobsters. And sometimes they throw things back and the seagulls come and get some of their things that they throw back. You'll want to enjoy all the artwork that Ashley Bryan has done and hear more about his island where there's a storm and then a rainbow appears. And in the end, he even tells you about the island of Antigua in the Caribbean, where his parents grew up. And he says, in the end, this is my story. Whether it be bitter or whether it be sweet, take some of it elsewhere and let the rest come back to me. And Ashley Bryan has written many books and told many stories, and you'll want to get some of his books and enjoy them. And especially think about him when you're trying out some Caribbean food. So, the next time, we'll see you here on the Griot Story Circle, telling you more about those things in Laurel that are special and that you can enjoy. I'm your storyteller, Sister Martha Ruff, and this has been the Griot Story Circle.